Hello little buns, it is Steph. Welcome back to my new home. I have moved and I've not yet set up a permanent filming situation. So right now I am filming in front of a wall in my living room. Hi Luce, it's my girl. Do you want to come say hello, Bevel? Come say hello to my friends. Hello. Say hello, Luce. Say hello to the camera, Bevel. Say hello to the camera. Beeple, bleeple. Steeple, beeple, weeple. Today I want to talk about fertility. I want to talk about whether or not trans women can have children, and I want to explain a little bit about that situation. So let's start off with pre-op versus post-op trans women in terms of pregnancy and fertility. So as of right now, there is no easy or accessible way for trans women to carry children, although uterus transplants are being developed to a point where eventually I'm sure that trans women will be able to physically carry the children in their body. Right now that is not accessible. It has happened with cis women having a uterus transplant to house a child. You want to play with your ball? But it has not been done on trans women yet, although there really is no difference because, you know, the main thing would be making sure the child has hormones it needs to survive, and we can take those orally, and making sure that the organ itself does not reject the body. So it's just a matter of making that procedure safe and accessible, and that's all we really need for that. Until that happens, however, we do not have, the option to carry children. So what we can do is either have children naturally with somebody, a partner that has a uterus, or we can have, some kind of surrogacy situation, a situation with an in vitro fertilization, which is where they place a baby basically in a womb and a uterus carries it to term, that kind of thing. Or there's adoption, of course. Lucy, what are you doing, Bebby? That's my lighting. Don't touch it, Bebby, pretty girl. Bebby, pretty girl. There is also the situation when it comes to trans women with testicles, okay? With your, whatever, gonads, I don't know what the word is. The situation of trans women being able to produce sperm, or really any trans person being able to produce whatever their, reproductive thing is that they need to produce. If you can remember the ad with eggs and it being like, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs, with it being all fried up in the frying pan. Similar thing happens to your reproductive organs on hormone replacement therapy. Not necessarily the outside changes as well, but it doesn't, wither it away. Sorry, oh my God, I'm a mess. There was a spider I was trying to kill for like 5 straight minutes in that bathroom, and then it disappeared and I can't find it, and I just stepped on a little piece of kitty litter, and I thought it was a spider, and I almost had a heart attack. For me, for example, I've been on hormones for 2 years. I've been on estrogen and T blockers for 2 years. So my sperm-producing body parts internally are like a very sad excuse for a cis man's version or a trans woman that has not undergone HRT. It still produces sperm, however, so it is not impossible for your partner to get pregnant if you are on HRT. This is very important. If you are a trans person, a trans woman, or a trans feminine person, just somebody that is born assigned male at birth, and you are on hormone replacement therapy, be aware that if you're with somebody that has a uterus, it is possible to induce pregnancy with your weakened testicles, okay? It is possible, so just be aware of that and take precautions if you want to. That being said, if you are trying to have a natural pregnancy, if you're trying to get your partner pregnant, you can do it if you've been on hormones. It will be harder to do, it will take more trying, but it is possible. There might be some people that it won't be possible for, but it is possible for some of us to still get somebody pregnant after we've been on estrogen for a while. And of course, if you have not been on estrogen, then you can still get somebody pregnant very easily. And just again, like I am speaking from a trans woman experience, I'm not speaking from a trans male experience, but I will tell you the same thing applies for dudes that have been on testosterone. If you've been on testosterone for a few years, you are still able to conceive, so be very careful. Be very, 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 very careful. It is definitely way, way less likely for a trans guy to conceive if he's on testosterone for a while, but there's still a sliver of a chance. So just be aware of that and act accordingly. If you are not doing a natural pregnancy, if you do not want to get pregnant in a natural way by having sex or inserting a semen into a uterus, okay, you can do an in vitro fertilization, and that involves usually freezing your goods well before using them. A lot of trans folks with access to money that they can spend will opt to freeze their sperm or eggs before transitioning or before going on medical transitionary kind of things in order to be able to produce children of their own genetic material. This is not something everybody has access to. When I started transitioning, I just did not have the money to freeze my sperm, so I did not. I am kind of glad to know that it is possible to still do that, just in case. So I might do that, we'll see. The costs vary when freezing your sperm from place to place. I believe in Canada it's somewhere around a couple hundred for the initial procedure, and then it's something like $300 or $400 a year to bank it. It could be different, that could be totally inaccurate, and it could even be covered by insurance. I'm not sure, I'm not positive. I know that to harvest and freeze eggs, it is much, much, much more expensive. So keep that in mind if you are not looking to, if you're on the opposite side of the spectrum. I just want to recap the current two options we've gone over. So the first one is a natural pregnancy. If you are a trans woman, for example, that has a partner with a uterus, you can have a natural pregnancy whether you've been on hormones or not. And if your partner is a trans man, they can still get pregnant even if they've been on hormones. If you want to induce a natural pregnancy, if that's something you want to do, and you are, for example, two trans people, why is this hair in my mouth? Trans men, if you want to induce pregnancy, you can go off of testosterone for a few weeks, basically until your cycle returns, which might be a super dysphoric thing. So I'm not saying you should do this, I'm just saying this is something that is possible. And that will increase your chances of getting pregnant to a place where they are actually reasonably possible. Not just a sliver of a freakish of a chance, you know what I mean? And you might be thinking, Steph, why on earth would a trans man want to carry a pregnancy? And 9 times out of 10, they probably don't want to, and that's totally cool. But for the 1 out of 10, for example, it may be way smaller than that, trans guy that does want to carry a baby, I'm not gonna stop them. And you shouldn't either. Let them carry a baby, if it's perfectly safe for both involved, which it is. This has been proven, by the way. It has been proven that testosterone in somebody that is carrying a child does not have any adverse effect on the pregnancy. I'm getting most of this information. I was just at a conference in Philadelphia called the Trans Health Conference, the Philly Trans Health Conference, and there was a panel all about fertility for trans people on both sides of the spectrum. So I went there and I learned a bunch of stuff, and that's where I'm getting this information to you. I do not have the actual studies in front of me, but I'm going off of what a very, very, very qualified doctor told me. And I think I can trust this information, okay? So there's that pregnancy, the natural pregnancy. And then, of course, there is an in vitro fertilization, which just like the last one, you can do with a cis female partner or a trans male partner, depending on what everybody's comfortable with. Unfortunately, right now, uterus transplant is not a viable option. However, when that becomes an accessible and viable option, it is very likely that trans women are going to be getting pregnant through in vitro fertilization of that uterus transplanted in. Does that make sense? I hope that becomes an option soon because I would love to do that, but not crossing my fingers, okay? Given those three options, okay, you also have surrogacy, which I'm not really gonna touch on because it's got nothing to do with transness, and adoption, which I'm not gonna touch on in depth because it has nothing to do with transness, but it is a very, very good option. There are so many children in the world already that need homes, that don't have parents, that don't have families, and I think it would be amazing if... What are you chewing on? Lucy, where are you? Whoa! Lucy, go! You don't dig in the garbage! Okay, that is going to be it for this video. I'm sorry I got off track with adoption. I just think it's a very important thing for people to consider before they jump right to saying, oh, well, I want my children to have my genetic material, which is totally fair. I'm not going to say you should not have your own genetic children, but adopted children are still your child if you adopt them. And I think we should definitely pay more mind to that option. Anyways, until next time, just remember, children are the future. And if you do not want children, that is perfectly okay. I made this video just as kind of a brief, vague 101 for trans people that are interested in fertility and childbearing and child production and whatever you want to call it. But I don't want anybody to feel ever in their life or my life to feel pressured that they have to have children or have to raise children. You don't have to do it. But I hope this was informative in some way, and that would be very cool. I love you so much. Oh my gosh, thank you for hanging out with me in my new house. I will see you soon. Bye! Ow! Hi, Luce. You pretty girl.